I'm terrible at pimping my stuff, so I thought dressing like a pimp might make it a little bit easier. I have blogs where you can read stuff and see things and interact with me. My main one is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com. My writing one and sort of diary blog is over at talesofgrim.wordpress.com. Hope to see you there.
I know there's a lot of shitty stuff going on in the world right now, and I'll probably get to that some point this weekend. But in my little world of tabletop gaming, something else concerning has just dropped that may get lost in the noise otherwise. And you know, this is primarily a gaming channel, so I'll talk about that here. The trouble is that talking about it could get me into trouble. And as a disabled game creator, it's a bit worrying to feel compelled to speak up about these problems, because talking about it could cut off a good chunk of my revenue stream. Onebookshelf, who run DrivethruRPG, have just put out a couple of new rules that game creators, publishers are supposed to follow. It's publisher conduct, I suppose you'd call it. Let's just read through these quickly. These are the new bits. Social media behavior. We know we are not perfect. When we make mistakes, we hope that our publisher clients will bring it to our attention first. Publishers who make derogatory or defamatory statements on social media about Onebookshelf or our staff may be subject to modification or termination of their publisher account. Next important section. Hostile marketing. Our policy regarding potentially offensive content, see Product Standards Guidelines, reported by customers is to deactivate such titles while they are being reviewed. Publishers who deliberately court controversy by making public declarations or accusations of censorship resulting from this process in order to draw attention to their products will be considered to use hostile marketing. Publishers who direct or support public accusations of impropriety or censorship toward Onebookshelf when their controversial titles are rejected or removed from our marketplace will also be considered to use hostile marketing. This behavior will not be tolerated. We have adopted a strict one-warning policy for those who engage in hostile marketing. The first incident will prompt a warning, and after a second incident, their accounts will be removed from our site permanently and immediately. Now, on the first of those, not a great deal to say. This is a problem across society at the moment, but social media behavior, what we say and do off your platform is still none of your fucking business. And that goes for any employer, any business, right? Short of us breaking the law and, I don't know, maybe murdering someone, what we say or do on platforms that aren't yours is nothing to do with you. And it is immense overreach by any employer or service to screw you over because of what you do on other platforms. This is, to my mind, ethically no different whatsoever than the deep injustice of banks refusing to do business with sex workers, adult workers, or there's myriad other things. People using their political speech, whether you agree with that or not, so long as it's within the bounds of the law, shouldn't be a firing offence. And so it goes here. Now, sometimes, yeah, OBS fucks up. Lots of companies often fuck up. And often, the best way to get a company that has fucked up to fix their fuck up is to be very public about it. Not just OBS, but any company. If an airline loses your baggage, right, and you're not getting any response from their help desk or customer services, taking to social media is a known and publicly accepted way to get them to reverse that behavior. If you need money back for a defective item, or a delivery service has delivered something to the wrong house, kicking up a very public stink about it is one way to ensure that you get better service. So we have to be able to be free to criticize services. to use the small amount of leverage that we have as customers and service users to get redress when things go wrong. So effectively, banning that is not helpful, not useful to anybody. It's very restrictive. It's threatening people. Now, onto the hostile marketing. Hostile marketing is not very well defined here about what this actually is, but I can say that the customer reporting tool is awful. It is a really, really fucking stupid way of going about things. Courting controversy is ill-defined. I am controversial without even attempting to be, really. It's just that controversial topics are the ones that interest me. Now, there are people that put out products that deliberately seek to tweak people's nipples, but they should be free and clear to do that. The trouble with having this publicly sourced censorship, and it is censorship, is that anybody can report anything for any reason, and then Onebookshelf takes it down, and then the clearing process takes too long. And the vast and overwhelming majority of sales typically take place within the first couple of days, and the turnaround is more than just a couple of days. So if someone were particularly malicious and nasty to any particular publisher, they could report everything and anything, and by the time it gets cleared, it's far, far too late. Irreparable damage has been done to a product release, and, being the position that I'm in, losing that money feels to me to be particularly bad. So the customer reporting system is awful and well open to abuse. Courting controversy is ill-defined. Hostile marketing is ill-defined. Attempting to curtail people's ability to call out when they're unfairly censored or have other issues. This is also deeply, deeply problematic. Onebookshelf is removing the ability for us as publishers to have right of redress and is encouraging bad, malicious reporting and censorship. And one warning isn't enough in those circumstances when there are people with deep biases, both reporting products and probably working for OBS. Now, this is a particular concern to me because I have suffered over a decade of harassment from these kinds of people. Fake reviews, downvoting, fake reporting. Even outside of the gaming world, I have had people who are upset with me in the gaming world attempt to attack the assistance that I get from disability. These people are pathological and they will abuse any system, and OBS's system is absolutely open, wide open to abuse. Now even more so because the people who come under attack from that abuse now have no way to fight back. This is not a good way to go about things. And not being able to call someone out for treating you badly. Basically, essentially, they've created a non-disparagement clause, which can fuck off. You're a service. When you screw up, we should be able to call you out publicly as well as privately. Now, there are specific reasons why this has happened, and if you limit your understanding to only those specific circumstances, I can understand why you might not be upset by this. Now, this all seems to be down to Venger Satanis, who is being a fucking dumbass and a hypocrite. Absolutely. But should we blame him entirely for this reaction? I don't think so. I don't know what happened to the lovely guy that I used to do podcasts with, but Venger definitely seems to have slipped to the right very, very much. I think that's a result of audience. I think that's a result of being outcast by people, and I don't see what's going on here now as being something that will offer Venger a way back to relative sanity and fluffiness. I think this will just make things worse. But the views that Venger has expressed in his last couple of adventures, for all that I find them personally repugnant, they are not uncommon views, particularly in the United States. And OBS didn't have to choose censorship. In fact, it would have far less impact, far less sales if they hadn't chosen this path. They didn't have to choose to empower the mob to censor and control what people can say and do. They didn't have to choose to empower and uplift people on the opposite side of these issues than Venger, with politics more closely aligned with mine. Right? They didn't have to choose to have a double standard here. I mean, Thirsty Sword Lesbians has some deeply shitty and problematic content about turning people, amongst other things, but no one kicks up a stink about that, or if they do, it's not treated with the same seriousness. A part of the problem is, I think, that once you're cancelled, you don't have much of a choice other than to hang out with other cancelled people, and the threat of losing that smaller new community that you have, having lost your original community, that's a problem. That's deeply a problem. But it's not fair to blame Venger for this. Their reactions are what made what he has done effective, and their actions here are their own. They didn't have to do this. In fact, doing the opposite would have been more effective if you wanted to suppress and discourage this. This is a massive overreaction, and it's not good for anybody. Not publishers, not readers, not anybody. It's a blatant double standard. When you are a company with a near monopoly over a space, such as Drive-Thru has here, for all that it is a niche, I think you have a responsibility to make a commitment to free expression, and not to censor people, save when you absolutely have to. And that always used to be OBS and Drive-Thru's stance, that they were a free speech platform. Now that doesn't seem to be the case. This is silly. It's an uneven standard. The process of censorship and review doesn't work, is open to abuse, and now we basically have no right of redress. And I'm taking a huge risk in speaking out against what seems to me to be obvious problems. Your mileage may vary. Zang. Oh, and a brief postscript. They've also changed some of the aspects of their product standards guidelines. They now say, neither your work description nor any promotional material, including blog posts or press releases, may contain racist, homophobic, discriminatory, or other repugnant views, overt political agendas or views, depictions or descriptions of criminal violence against children, rape or other acts of criminal perversion, or other obscene material without the express written permission of Onebookshelf. Who's defining what is and isn't racist? Is racism against white people okay? Who is and isn't defining what is homophobic? And what about stuff that's disparaging towards heterosexuals or cisgender people? Who is and isn't deciding what is discriminatory? Will discrimination against white people, or the majority in any case, be treated the same way as discrimination in the opposite direction? Who is defining what repugnant views are? Because there are things that I view as repugnant that other people wouldn't, right? But I would never call for them to be censored. There are plenty of things with overt political agendas. I suspect that they only mean particular political agendas. Ones that actually agree with me are probably going to be okay, but that's not fair, is it? Depictions or descriptions of criminal violence against children. Well, I make a lot of horror games. There are few things that are as horrific as that. How is that okay? I mean, this is something that we do see in films. I just recently rewatched the remake of The Blob, which has a very powerful, shocking scene because it kills the kid who you're not expecting it to, and that is massively effective. Rape or other acts of criminal perversion In what territory? Under what law? I'm a bit kinky. BDSM is illegal in certain countries and to certain extents. Buggery is considered criminal in certain jurisdictions, possibly the US again now. Who is going to define what is obscene? This is just, it's carte blanche to ban or not ban whatever you want completely capriciously based on entirely subjective views. That's not helpful, that's not useful, and it makes for a lot less interesting games. So yeah, stuff to think about. Zang again.
Said the grinder as it chewed its way through Alice from the crown of her head all the way down to her toes. It ate the lot of her, unfussy, snout to tail, and cleared its plate. It gnashed its way through her dress, her pinafore, her shoes, and her unmentionables. It chewed her hair, devoured her scalp, gobbled up her arms, wolfed down her legs, gorged itself on her torso, noshed on her skin, and gulped her down without so much as a burp to show for it.